Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the final match of the evening in OPC Season 2. Overall, joining with me this evening is Pixie as we head into blank now, coming up against Machi.
Like you said, final match of the night, and a bit of an interesting one as well. I mean, if we say no one is able to rest on their laurels, well, that's certainly not true for either of these teams. Blank desperately need to pick up wins if they want to make it back into that top 4 and aim for a spot at playoffs. Machi, on the other hand, need to pick up wins to avoid relegation. So both of these teams fighting for kind of to opposite sides of the same coin in a way.
Exactly. Machi now 7th place up on the standings. Definitely fighting to raise up their standings so far. They've let Hong Kong Attitude get away from them. Mega Thunder's even got away from them. And Machi, they don't want to be left alone in the bottom of that standings. But before we get into the match, I have a pre-match interview from both sides.
OK， 我们按照惯例，在比赛开始前呢，都有一小段时间要来交给我们的教练们。Do you have anything you want to say?
Yeah, after our match against HK this weekend, we've had a lot of practice over the last day and really looking forward to putting out a convincing performance tonight.
他说呢，历经了上一场比赛之后呢，接下来他们有充足的时间来准备对Machi的这一战，所以他们一定会打出非常有说服力的一场比赛。你呢，有没有什么话想对对手说？
虽然我们最近状况不是特别好，但我们也慢慢找到方式去修正自己的问题。相信这场我们会打得比之前更好。
So we haven't played so well most recently, but we've been working very hard to correct those mistakes and now turn things around right at the end of the competition.
And turnaround is absolutely the apt term there. Like we said, they are currently trying to avoid relegations. They sit at 7th place after losing to Mega Thunder, and part of that as well is Mega Thunder had the extra win from beating Hong Kong Attitude in the first round robin that Machi themselves don't have. But a win against Blank would tie them for 6th place with Mega Thunder and put them in the very real spot where they would be racing Mega Thunder to avoid relegation. So a loss here makes it just that much harder to avoid it, given that the rest of the competition is equally as stiff.
And actually a win here for Machi would also put Blank further down. 4 to 5 would then be Blank's record, and suddenly within striking distance of both Mega Thunder and Machi Esports, who would be sitting at 3 and 6 apiece. So a very important win, certainly also for Mega Thunder, who aren't even in this match because they're hoping that Machi takes Blank out.
Exactly, and that's the other thing, is the loss would make it that much harder for Blank to recover and make it back into the top 4. They would need to take down both AHQ and Hong Kong Attitude. AHQ are looking resurgent. Hong Kong Attitude, actually they can't take them down because they've already lost to them. They would need to take out someone like Flash Wolves, and it just gets harder and harder. So every match from here on out really is a must win for Blank, but the exact same is true for Machi. The reality is only one team can win.
And that's a difficult thing here because everyone needs that win as we're heading into the final moments and the final weeks of the second round robin. This is the final day of the first week in the second round robin. Only 2 weeks of regular season competition remain, so every single team needs to get those W's on the board. But let's introduce Blank Esports here now. Trill, I'm going to start things off on the tank position. Huss, the newcomer, on the offense. Gumba, one of the veterans and one of the shot callers of the team, on support. Huru from New Zealand on flex. QT, the captain, on support. And you up on offense.
And of course, coming up opposite them is going to be Machi Esports with No Talk on the flex. Kiyomi and Restia, their 2 supports. D-Crown, their main tank player, and then Nuns and Kant both on offense. Now, I have a brief feeling, a sneaking suspicion, they may actually be fielding Rai tonight. I'm not sure if that is necessarily the case, but we will find out in a few moments. But Rai, of course, has been sat on the bench so far. We saw him a little bit across Season 1, but have yet to see him make an appearance here in Season 2.
I think it would be a little bit risky considering how important this match is to Machi Esports to try and get this win. Unless there was a special surprise in store from the Machi side, it would certainly be somewhat unlikely to field a suboptimal roster rather. But for Blank Esports, this is it. This is all they've got to run with, so any issues they have here needs to be addressed if they want to come through with the victory and then certainly make their way back in the top 4 before the regular season ends.
Exactly, and that's the thing, as much as Machi probably don't really want to field outright here, they've stuck with the same roster. Blank, on the other hand, did have the 2 new players of Huss and Huru into the mix. They've gelled decently. Things are looking all right, but they're just not quite firing off the way they need, and there do just seem to still be a couple of licks of inconsistency here and there, a few kinks that still needed to be ironed out, and they're just not there yet. Now they don't really have any extra time.
It'll be interesting to see as well how Blank have now adapted to the patch changes after their most recent match loss against Hong Kong Attitude. Let's take our focus now onto Machi Esports, who are coming in after a loss against Mega Thunder, as previously mentioned, which then puts them in a much more precarious situation. Still waiting to see exactly who gets fielded here for Machi Esports, but expect Machi to come in this matchup with all cylinders firing.
This is a team that's had a very interesting run on the whole throughout OPC from start to finish. I mean, this is a team who, in the second round robin of Season 1, beat Flash Wolves. They had a really strong run. By the end of it, they got dislodged and bested by Hong Kong Attitude after just falling shy of making playoffs themselves. Now they find themselves sitting in the bottom 2 and fighting to avoid relegations. This is a team that could maybe feel safe enough if they did end up in relegations. It's not the end of the world for them, but it would certainly be a bit of a fall from grace in a way. And I mean, to start with, the team doesn't want to end up in that situation, but in order to not, they need to start executing on all the things we know they can do. They need to start really reaching their potential.
And they need to do that now against Blank Esports, because otherwise their next match after this in the following week is going to be against AHQ. Then they take on Ardian as well in Flash. Also, you know, in terms of matches, they're facing up against the top 4, so to speak. So Blank Esports, one of the few teams left in the sort of bottom 4 section that they can take a match win off. So that's why it gets really important. Blank Esports, of course, in the home position. That means they get map picks 1, 3, and 5 for Control, Assault, and Hybrid at the end. Machi Esports as the away side get map picks 2 and 4, which is the Hybrid in the middle and the Escort.
Now keep in mind as well here for Blank, the situation is such that yes, their goal is to make it back into that top 4 after being dislodged on day 1 by Hong Kong Attitude. But they also need to be aware of the fact that a loss to Machi, followed by a loss to Mega Thunder, and then possibly even a loss to Liberland, with any of those teams picking up other wins, would actually put them into relegation. So that's still not something they are, strictly speaking, safe from. They need to have that at the back of the mind as well. As much as this is an affordable loss from that perspective, it's a dangerous one if it were to come to that. But with the home side and the first pick, they're going to take us to Ilios.
You got to feel as well with Blank's recent condition, with their recent loss to Hong Kong Attitude. This is now a team that is much more within distance of actually Machi, not just potentially getting themselves a win, but actually taking maps off of Blank as well. This has been a difficult matchup for Machi so far in OPC Season 2, certainly in OPC Season 1, but now, suddenly, Blank, they're not looking at their best, and for Machi, they're still climbing.
Coaches Doctor and Cassis having a brief handshake before these two teams get on into the map. And we've got to talk about the obvious here. That is Blank with the home side. They get to take us to Control. Ilios is a fantastic map for them, very much Blank favored on what is already a Blank favored game mode. They also get the Assault pick later on down the line, which can help them kind of shore up that weakness. A weakness which they have started very seriously addressing as well in their scrims and practices. And there's still a couple of other things in among the mix there, so it's really hard to say exactly who will be favored where throughout the series, but Ilios is a great opportunity for Blank to make a strong start.
And that just makes this map even more important for Blank because they can't afford to lose this. We talk about some of the maps where you look at a team on Assault, Blank not so much favored. They have, you're right, been turning that one around. So if you do look at Assault, if they do lose Assault, it's not the worst for them. It's not the end of the world unless that is the 3-0 victory for Machi. However, on Ilios, this is where they're most expected to win, and certainly a loss here would be a big upset.
Yeah, a loss here would be a shock if nothing else, and that would mean that the recovery would have to come on the Hybrid, and that's actually a game mode that Machi are very, very strong on. But, of course, we still have to get through Ilios first. Doors open, teams rolled out. Nothing too spicy out of either side. We are going to see Haas on the Genji now. Let's see how the opening skirmish plays out.
Both teams running the exact same composition here. Area control going to be very important. Already Trilled, making sure a little bit harassed onto Nuns, keeping him honest there. Takes a lot of damage though from Gumba.
Yeah, and the follow-up is trying to come in now from AU up. There's good ground control out here from Blank. Can't able to get topped off though, and they're just jostling for position to begin with. Now Machi going to start to occupy some of this space, going to try and force Blank back. Gunbur doesn't get closed out upon, gets back to a health pack, and now again, pressure out from Blank. Neither team coming out the better, but that's the closeout they maybe need. gets traded even, but they're getting the pressure on No Talk as well. And Machi are the first to make the move to the point itself, and that could be the difference here. Don't quite get the grab, who was into contest, but the rest of the team needs to follow up quickly. Good pulse bomb from Edu Up though, as he closes out the supports, and suddenly just as Machi set themselves up, Blank take it out from underneath them.
And it looked extremely even up until that point. Machi went for the camp early, can't blame them for that. That's the correct thing to do. Make sure you actually get this camp going. Blank Esports, they didn't have the correct response as well. Huwu dives to contest, manages to save the point, and then Eat Up, he's the one that really cleans Machi up, gets an early pulse bomb kill. Camp though, he's got his pulse bomb ready to go, wanting some revenge.
Yeah, revenge is exactly the right term. Haas is well close to the Dragon Blade, closer indeed than Nuns, and that could be what they need. We're struggling to get much mileage out of the Dragon Blades yesterday, so we also need to see a bit of a turnaround today in that regard.
From both players actually, because we're in a similar situation now where the support ultimates do come online. Haas gets the first Dragon Blade though, but no one really commits just yet.
Yeah, well, I mean, they don't really want to commit now, Machi. They got the opening pick, which was a good one. They've actually forced the Transcendence out of Gunbird because he was getting dove, but Blank are very much ahead in this, and it's going to be equal Dragon Blades here. Let's see who gets more work done. Nuns off to a better start, even takes down his counterpart in Husk, and Blank actually now kind of need to stabilize because Machi, despite getting beaten back in the first instance, were able to bide their time and find a more favorable mode to get in. But now Trill with the Primal Rage on the point, keeping it on lockdown. Still not over for Machi as much as they gave themselves a window. They are on the cusp of being beaten back as well. Self-destructing to keep them zoned off. They may just have to take that one on the chin.
That was a 1-2 punch from Machi Esports as well, because RKT died for Sound Barrier. Now he returns Sound Barrier ready in hand. Husk couldn't get anything done with the Dragon Blade either, but now it's going to be Machi Esports. Kiyomi already committed the Transcendence. Kill starting to come online for Canton.
Yeah, Kant and Nuns both getting a few where it counts. Husk pressured out the wrong side of the point, wasn't able to get to the health pack either, and Machi do get the grab off. Very expensive for both teams. Machi come out with more ults at the end, but Blank are just a couple of wins away from capping fully.
That's a good cap out from Machi as well. Just a little bit of presence from Blank Esports, but otherwise a well-deserved win over because Nuns had the better Dragon Blade, got the double kill, one of which was onto Huz, who also pulled out a Dragon Blade. Again, killing RQT before the Sound Barrier comes out. Very important kills that really come out from Machi. So now they just have to catch up in terms of progress, take over Blank, make them desperate.
Oh, that's a great catch there from Pulse Bomb, but Eat You Up, unfortunately, going down over the edge. Bit of a... hope nobody saw that moment, but you know what, Eat You Up, we did. And that means Blank are going to have to kind of hold tight before they really commit to this.
They need IU up as well because he's been one of the biggest factors for this team so far. You only need to look at the opening fight to know what this man can do, especially now with the pulse bomb. But as we're sort of saying that, as soon as IU up comes and reinforces with the team, Trill goes down and now Blank again on the back foot.
They have at least drawn some ultimates out because Nuns is committing the Dragon Blade to make this a secure fight win. He actually loses his life, so there is a window here as Blank start to come in on respawns, unless they do lose both Huss and Trill, but it looks like they'll both make it out alive here.
It's good follow-up by Machi Esports, a little bit deep by Nuns rather, did get the first kill, narrowly misses the kill to Eat You Up as well, but the rest of Machi maintaining that pressure despite Nuns going down. They pick up the additional kills, and Blank Esports almost lucky to get away with not losing anyone else.
Yeah, lucky indeed. They've got the tools now. They don't have the Sound Barrier, which Restia does have, but they can find some good openings here anyway. I mean, you one-shot someone, doesn't matter if there's a Transcendence, but they're going to have to get onto it soon. Restia out with the Sound Barrier, and Gunba has to put the Transcendence out to keep the team in this. Good stick on the Pulse Bomb, forces Primal Rage out of Trill, and the zoning is in from No Talk Esports. Blank Esports, rather, had to get onto the point now as they lose Haas. That's significant. He was trying to get something done with the Dragon Blade. Eat You Up, also nothing with the Pulse Bomb, but he's getting some pressure on the point itself, along with Huwu. They've got the tanks here, and Machi, they didn't lose many members, but they gave up the positioning. Blank are able to get the cap. Now they want to put down the pressure, but Trill goes too deep. Huss is re-entering the fray and is going to need to do a ton of work because they've got a lot of tanky members to fight through. Machi nearly getting the grab, and Huss needs to not lose his life on the point here as the Crown pops the Primal Rage. He may just have to back out altogether and lose the point once again, and that is at 99%, by the way.
Exactly, you kind of want to flip over here, so Blank's about to hit their own 99%, not in time. Eat You Up goes over the side, this could be all over.
Twice on the one map and all over indeed. Trill just barely getting on the point, but is only buying time for no one. Huss is still too low, Huwu's still too far away, and Machi are going to pick up Lighthouse.
Blank Esports, after a really good start, after really good initial progress, it comes up to Machi to turn things around. They get a little bit of early momentum after the first flip around, then they really pressure onto Blank, and they continue that momentum, they continue that progress all the way up to 99. Blank got that one cheeky camp in the middle, making sure that they just keep Machi honest, continue their own progress just a little bit, but ultimately at the end of the day, it's already at 99% for Machi, and they win it when it counts.
And there was this interesting moment as well where they had the cap and they'd pretty much got the fight win. And instead of opting to lick their wounds and just regroup a little bit before Machi came in for the counterattack they were already gearing up for, they went aggressive, but only half of them did. And I feel like they did themselves no favors in terms of the positional game when they had control of the point.
And the big moment has to be, and this is the turnaround moment, this is when Machi actually got their first camp out this win, when Blank had that big string of kills right at the start of the game. It was when both Genji players pulled out the Dragon Blade, but it was Nuns that cut down Huss. Also RQT dying with Sound Barrier. Blank were easily on the back foot. Their government tried to keep it alive with Transcendence, Huru as well, making sure that tanks were still on the front line. But at the end of the day, didn't have enough pressure to bring it back, couldn't turn it back around. Machi, they took a while to cap, but they did get the cap. Most importantly, as soon as they did get the cap, they held on for a long time.
And Blank really had a hard time getting into that one. We're often just getting picks, and really that's most of where that progress came from for the side of Machi. But now coming back onto what will now be well. Let's see if Blank can pull it back or whether Machi are going to close it out.
And Blank need to make it to Ruins as well, because typically Ruins has been their best stage onto Ilios, already facing a potential match loss here if they don't win well, so this is important.
None's going to be on the Pharaoh here. Blank actually don't have a good amount of hit scan here to deal specifically with the Pharaoh and Mercy, so we're going to have to see how they deal with this.
Well, they're going to have to go for the ground game here, win everything onto the ground, make sure you get target rest here, target the tanks as well, shut Cant out. That's how you're going to win this if you're on the Blank side.
Certainly not going to be easy, though, with that pressure coming down from Nuns, and they're kind of struggling to find the targets here. Ooh, good pressure onto Cant, but both just use the recall. It is Blank sort of on the point, but they've got to respect Nuns. Good pick from Huss, but losing Trill makes it a little bit harder. That's a great pick between Huru and Huss to close that one out and getting the pressure on Kiyomi. That should be enough to close out the opening skirmish. Without that aerial superiority, the rest of the members should be able to fight the ground game out cleanly, and that indeed is going to be the cap with D-Crown just going down off the back end. No Talk still trying to contest it here, but don't know that this is necessarily a smart idea. They could just get trickled if they're not careful.
And Huru is all the anti-air that you need, combined with Discord all from Gumber as well. Huss a little bit of anti-air moments from himself with the Genji dash, but ultimately it is Blank Esports in control of the camp itself. Ultimate's about to come online. The big one will be Dragon Blade. We have a lot of moments here where we can get a lot of work done because Kiyomi not quite on that res.
And again, we still need to see Huss really go off with these Dragon Blades, so again, going to get an opportunity to do so. It's difficult targets though, Nuns and Kiyomi both, but it's doable, very doable indeed for Genji.
We're going to have to see what happens because teammate IU already fails onto the pulse bomb.
Well, they get no talk, so they've made it work anyway. That is the Dragon Blade out. He's onto D-Crown, not the ideal target. And with the Discord Orb, he still isn't able to get it done. They need to close out on Kiyomi. Oh, Huss was about to go for it, but didn't quite get it. But now Kiyomi is dead. That's the res off the table. Eat You Up needs to get a lot of work done, but he has still got the support of the tanks and Gunber. That could be all they need as Huru throws out the self-destruct to zone Nuns. He's got nowhere to retreat to. That's a good closeout from them as they have absorbed the few ultimates the match he did have to play with. Still no res coming into this fight, and Blank have started to stabilize now with this Transcendence.
Especially with the Transcendence, RQT can choose to follow up with the Sound Barrier as well. Edup's getting a lot of damage on, takes
Great
his
solo.
counterpart into Cat. Now Kiyomi must get ready to use the Resurrection.
He's got to, and with Huss dead, it's an opportune time as well. They lose Eat You Up. A tempo res would be great here. May not even be necessary. He's just going to rejoin the fray in general, holding on to that. But Blank are going to fight to the last, even as they have no DPSs. By the way, Nun's now off the Pharaoh altogether. Kiyomi is really keeping his team healed up tightly. Blank not letting the cap go down without a fight, but it is going to go down.
We're just waiting for one person to die here so Machi Esports can get a little bit of mileage. The most important thing to note is Blank still control this camp, so despite Machi coming on top of the kills, they're actually winning this fight, but they're not actually camping because Blank still hold on.
They're overcommitting now a little bit. Like, Trill could have just backed out. Huss kind of ended up in that one as well. He at least retreated, as was IEU up, but he went down. So they got it to 99. I suppose that's what they were aiming for, but maybe didn't need to commit those last few members.
We'll have to see how it pans out for Blank, because for Machi Esports now they have a bit of a mountain to climb. 0 to 99 is what they are facing here. They need a lot of fight wins all in a row. The Resurrection will certainly be a factor within that.
Pulse Bomb goes wide, and Cant in a bit of a tight spot. Gets the health back up, but he's not safe out. That's an early pick that Blank absolutely needed. Good pressure up onto Huss, but he's going to get out of that one, and D-Crown needs to not let himself get exposed. The res can still come through, and there it goes, tempo res, but it will not save Nuns if he goes down too quickly. But they're going to be safe for now. Who good catch on Kiyomi. So again, numbers advantages there. D-Crown dead with no Primal Rage available, and Blank already in command of this fight.
And you can't afford to let this cap go over. Nuns, he's about to die, but he's not going to get a chance to use the Dragon Blade. A little bit of healing is what he requires. Now that he goes down,
Gorilla.
it looks like it's all over.
And now Huss, just when it doesn't matter, is going to get a Dragon Blade off to secure those last two members. So Blank, much like they needed to do, have secured well, bring it up 1-1. They do get to go to Ruins, like you said, much more comfortable for them, and this is still very much alive.
Getting that 99 was very important at the end of the day, making sure they get as much progress as possible, keeping Machi on the back foot. Despite a couple of good fights for Machi, they never really could get that cap over, so well done to Blank to continue the stall factor, to continue the contest up until a winning factor. They only need to win one fight, and they did just that. Nuns on the back foot, didn't get a chance to use his Dragon Blade. We've seen that before from Huss, but when it mattered, Huss is still able to pull out a Dragon Blade, get some kills just for celebration.
Yeah, celebration to be sure. And we're actually not seeing as much out of Nuns as we normally do, so good work by Blank to kind of keep him kettled for now. But Blank going to be running that Widowmaker, no match out of Machi, and Huss is going to be on the Tracer.
We are still looking for the Sombra duel though, because both Sombras are going to be vying for that middle health pack. Whoever gets it first is going to have a big advantage for their own team. But Blank Esports, they have IU up. We already know he snipes extremely well. Machi, they got to be careful.
What that does mean, though, is eat you up. He can get sightlines, but Machi had the numerical superiority around that health pack and do get control of it. So Gunba also actually getting pressured out, a little bit unfortunate, looking for that headshot. Good respect being given to the deflect. They need to get an opening pick here.
And it would be evidence that Gumba did in fact get the health pack control. He's so far ahead in terms of EMP. Cap's already gone over to Machi though, so for Blank Esports, needs some forward pressure. Nuns, I'm gonna say that might have been a deflect kill.
I think it almost certainly was a deflect, and Eat You Up had been giving a lot of respect to that. That's an EMP, but it may be a bit late. Huss has got to close out these kills. He's the only DPS to do it, but he is doing it. And Gunba too, who is of course still in this fight. That's a really great set of kills actually out of Blank off the back of the EMP. Nun's not done just yet, and he's still trying to keep this one alive, but the picks are starting to come through. The rest of Blank pressuring out the rest of Machi as the fight goes on. Still kind of anyone's game. No one quite coming off the better. The cap hasn't gone through just yet, but with no talk down, that's going to be the cap.
It's a good EMP play from Blank, but here comes Machi Esports. They've already used the sound barrier. Should be an EMP to follow as well, and Nuns is going for it.
That is a late EMP, though, out of Kiyomi, and they've already lost some key members. Cat does not get the pulse bomb off or the kills to capitalize the EMP. Machi committing after losing the cap. They had the numbers short, but it was a little bit too hurried.
That was well defended by Blank Esports. They were able to sort of just get past the offense from Machi Esports. The EMP, like you said, came a little bit late. Nuns couldn't get any kills with the Dragon Blade. Cat didn't get the opportunity to throw the pulse bomb either. But Ristia, the sound barrier, that was entry for Machi. Unfortunately, they exited with nothing.
Gonna get revenge for that deflect headshot there. You up getting another one, man. Not too shabby. Now they're moving very far forward, but this means Machi have to brawl a lot before they can even get to the point.
They're going to have to just go for the reset here. Importantly, Gumba's going to hit that EMP once more. We've already seen a good EMP play from Gumba. End up still hitting up a lot of these headshots despite not getting the kills. It slows Machi down considerably. They just have to wait for more healing, and we only have one healer. That's a difficult task.
And they're fighting a long way away from their own health packs here, Machi. That's a quick commit from Gunba. They need to get the conversion, but they are going to get it as they get the mech from No Talk. Good stick on to D-Crown as well, and with the damage, they're going to close it out. They do lose EU up in the mix, but it just doesn't matter. Huss is really starting to shine.
Actually, Gumba as well is having some really good initiations with the Sombra EMP. He's done a great job so far. Health pack control back in his court as well. And Kiyomi, he's just so far behind. He's had the EMP. He's already lost it by the looks of it.
He did. He used it late in the fight.
That's just going to put Machi further and further behind. They were already on the back foot. Now Blank Esports threatening the 90%. Machi, this is it. They're going to have to come in with what they got, and Nuns doesn't even look like he's going to get a Dragon Blade before this fight starts.
Yeah, we got to see him get the Dragon Blade and then use it to great effect, and already getting the pick on Restia. Trill taking no prisoners. Nuns already getting pressured, and meanwhile, D-Crown is putting attention onto EU up. He gets the kill, but that might be too much attention because who's there to cover for Nuns? Answer is no one because Huss is able to get the kill. Now D-Crown rejoining the fray, gets closed out upon, and Blank are all over this point. And speaking of all over, it's all over but the crying for Machi. Blank going to pick up Helios.
This is why Blank is so good onto Ruins. We had some rough moments on some of the other maps. We did, of course, have a Lighthouse victory for Machi Esports, a well that was fairly evenly contested despite most of the progress actually going on to Blank Esports side. But as soon as you get to Ruins, this is all a Blank affair.
Yeah, exactly, and even this was quite close. I mean, it nearly was 99 to 99. A few minor errors from Blank are ultimately what costed them. But what we did see that we haven't actually seen as much from them lately was really great solo play. Look, they've always been solid on the solo play, but we're just starting to see Huss come into his own a little bit more. He's not too timid in these fights, not necessarily going off massively with the Dragon Blades, but we're seeing him have a significant effect. We're seeing him, you know, picking out the Pharah with that Genji. Yeah, shake hands with RQT. You've earned it, buddy.
They do that every time. They do that every
as though they're surprised. Hey,
it's
good to meet you. Yeah, Kevin, was it?
Yeah.
This is so.
You can't let it go too early either. Because RQT and Huss, they keep it going for a really long time.
This is like how Donald Trump shakes hands. This is actually quite uncomfortable. Let's take a look at some replays.
Okay. This is going to be sort of the middle of the ground part now. Both teams roughly on that 70%. Now look at the ultimates on the Blank Esports side because they do look fairly stacked here. Waiting for the first pick to come on through. Notice that the progress still sits within the Machi camp. Here comes finally Gumba out with that Transcendence play. Now Huss with the Dragon Blade waiting for some picks here. To memory though, he doesn't really get enough done here. Decron shuts him down, so still waiting for that to happen. RQT very close to sound barrier, but it does appear that he might go down with this. No, just saves his team.
And it seems that Huss tends to use the Dragon Blade in environments that are, shall we say it, not target rich. Now from here actually, Blank have this great opportunity to kind of group back together, I suppose. Just recover is the word I'm looking for. But instead, Trill and Huwu kind of end up forward of the point, scrapping it out with No Talk and D-Crown. That ultimately ends up being what costs them because Trill's not on the point. Huwu loses his mech because Nuns and Kant were exerting more pressure on the point than Eat You Up and Huss. Because Huss had actually died. It was only just able to regroup. So there was that moment where they had the cap, but made the mistake of, I think, getting a bit too aggressive, a bit too early, rather than just licking their wounds that extra second. Now, it's one of those kind of high-risk, high-reward things. Look, if Trill and Huwu together have been able to demech No Talk, it would have made the stabilization easier, if not guaranteed. And we would have been saying the exact opposite. Like, that was really well timed. They cut off the aggression from Machi before it could come out. But that is what made the difference. That was only one map, though.
At the end of the day, though, you did see the sort of moments where Machi came out ahead in the ultimate exchanges, got more value out of it. Both teams had roughly the same ultimates. Once again, it just wasn't a good map for Huss. We're talking specifically about Lighthouse here. First Dragon Blade got shut down by Nuns with his own Dragon Blade. Second Dragon Blade just kind of fell flat on his face again, so just couldn't really find anything. He found his feet eventually on well, and then finally onto Ruins. And he's going to have to continue that because we're going to Hollywood, which is Machi's pick.
This is going to be an interesting one to say the least. So, the other thing I want to touch on here is this notion of Blank being a bit of a slow burn team. They do tend to take a little bit to ramp up, and they do feel a little bit more ramped up now. I mean, if you are a slow burn team, you'd rather that you are up to speed by the time you finish the first map, and if you pick up a win, that's pretty good too. And we see that in, you know, losing the first map. It came quite close, winning the next two, picking up Ilios. And that's also the windfall that we said they kind of needed. They've got the lead in this series. And as much as Machi are really solid on hybrid, this is still a potentially even one. Could go either way. And the extra win is just that safety for Blank.
And they needed that extra win as well because they got Ilios. This was an important win for them. Kind of threatened as well. It wasn't the easiest win for them. They had to really fight for it. But eventually they do get it. They're having that 1-0 up. They can get this as well, putting themselves in a 2-0 lead position. That really helps them out, especially going into Assault, which is important.
And that's the thing. Had they lost it, this now would have been a must-win, just based purely off their poor record on Assault. But even then, this isn't necessarily a map they're not favored on. It is Machi's pick, and it's Hollywood. They've got a plan. That much is clear, but Blank are no slouches either, and they've played and indeed beaten some of the best, specifically on Hollywood. Teams like AHQ and Hong Kong Attitude do come to mind, even as they did lose to Hong Kong Attitude most recently.
And that loss still has to be weighing on Blank's minds quite heavily here because their record against Hong Kong Attitude now is very poor. I'm not going to include the Season 1 record in here, but certainly in Season 2, they've already lost to them twice, if memory serves correct. So this just really puts Blank in a really interesting situation because all of these maps are still really threatened by Machi. We've already seen situations where Machi can pull that win out if Blank are caught sleeping. If Blank are not awake for this, if they're not energized, if they're not really watching out, this is where Machi can really spring a surprise upon them.
It does seem to be we have a bit of a delay. I have a feeling it's Restia's PC here, and should be able to get that resolved nice and quick. So there's something else I suppose I want to touch on here, and I do just want to bring this back to a previous match he had not too long ago. That was against Mega Thunder, where they did lose control. They then won Hybrid, they lost Assault. And it was this interesting situation because based on the performances on those different map types, Machi were very much favored coming back onto Escort. They were looking good for the more momentum, the payload-oriented game modes, Escort and Hybrid. And it was a saving grace for Mega Thunder that they were 2-1 up because they only had to win one of those two matches, but both felt like uphill battles. So as much as that series fell the way it did, the reality was that was still a winnable position for Machi based off their strength on these game modes. And it even may have been something like fatigue getting to them a little bit. But this is something that they can kind of fall back on now here against Blank. And this is also their pick. Whereas previously against Mega Thunder, I believe it had actually been Mega Thunder's pick on Eichenwald. So Machi in a bit more comfortable territory here on a game mode they are good on. So this is very much a series that can go 1-1 off the back of this. And then from there, it's kind of anyone's game.
We need to see the evidence of that as well, because every time you have a team pick a map, we need to understand exactly why we're doing that. Otherwise, you're going to have a situation where Mega Thunder picks a map like Eichenwald, and still we're struggling to see exactly why and where they're really strong on this map. Now, for a map like Hollywood and for Machi Esports, you have to be in a position where Hong Kong Attitude usually are, where you absolutely know why we're going to Hollywood. Machi now have to prove that.
You know, the first time I saw Huwu, I saw his name, I thought his name was Hollywood. Like, I just straight up didn't read it properly. Well, actually, I thought it was Hollywood. And then I was like, oh no, I misread it.
You just inserted the extra letters yourself.
I thought it was Hollywood. And then I was like, oh no, I misread it. It's Hollywoo. And then I was like,
God.
no, wait. And actually, you were then like, actually, it's Huwu. I was like, oh, jeez. I just thought it was a BoJack Horseman reference.
I must be crazy. Am I the only person that just looks at it and says,
that actually reads the name?
Yeah,
apparently.
it reads what I think
you
how
are.
it reads.
Well, the way I'm able to remember it now, and it sounds silly that I have to remember it, because sometimes I still nearly call him Hollywood, is the fact that it's woohoo backwards. So it's the consonants are just swapped over. Woo.
And that trips a bunch of people up. In fact, that you want to say woohoo.
Yeah.
But it's hoo-woo.
And the problem is if he does something well and you're like woohoo, hoo-woo, you just sound like a cheap Dr. Seuss.
Well, it is woo. I go woohoo for hoo-woo.
Yeah, it's like, do you do voodoo? Hoo-woo? Yes, I do.
I do too.
Do you do voodoo? We all do voodoo. Well, that's maybe they'll need a bit of voodoo magic. I don't know. That was a segue. It is going to be Machi on the defense first. Nothing unsurprising here. And pretty stock standard. Husk's going to be back onto the Genji. And he's looking more solid now, but I still just want to see that extra bit of confidence out of him.
And we do want to see Blank Esports kind of really get into the Ardian zone here, because what Ardian did to Hong Kong Attitude on this exact same attack with this exact same composition was really important. They got past the Sombra, made sure the EMP wasn't really affecting them. Husk and Trill need to be the ones doing the work here, and certainly they're already taking advantage in this cafe section. But well defended. Yeah, well defended so far, no casualties, but the pressure is on Machi to actually get onto the point itself, because Blank have taken that ground and no talk getting demeg. This is good closeout, actually. Blank got the pressure down, and then Machi just didn't quite respond aptly. Blank have just kept it on, converted the kills too. This is about as clean as it gets. This is extremely good. This is exactly what it looked like when Ardian took down Hong Kong Attitude. So now Blank Esports got all that extra time to work with, got all that extra momentum to work with, can give the early positioning to, make sure they secure that high ground, do not allow Machi to set up their defense. They want to go aggressive, but the funny thing is, they don't actually have the ultimates up for it just yet. They could try and leverage a pulse bomb, and I guarantee you Eat You Up will be doing just that. But ideally, they want something like Husk's Dragon Blade. They've taken the ground, though. That's extremely important, because look at Machi Esports. They want to be the ones on the high ground here. D Crown's going to try and open it up, but Eat Up's already here. Trill's on the back line as well, or Trill's on the front line, rather. And meanwhile, the card is moving most importantly.
They sent Nuns down to contest it, and he did stall it a little bit, but it was mostly been moving this whole time. And now, Machi do kind of have this ground, but Blank have been able to decide how much of it they get, and they've still got Eat You Up set up.
EMP.
Now they've got the ultimates, but EMP, yeah, is a good opener. RQT the first casualty, but the answer back is there. Machi are getting really low, and like I said, weren't able to position ideally. They do close out on Huwu, but this is Hus now starting to do the work. It's all going to be down to which DPSs die first, and it's currently Blank doing more work with their 2 DPSs that are up. Huwu's going to be able to remech as well. Pretty pleased with that one they are, and the payload back underway.
And that was an important fight win for Blank Esports because they do manage to get themselves past the EMP, punishing Nuns right out of the respawn as well. Suddenly we're seeing Blank Esports in a position where the ultimates come online. No one used anything yet, not even Huwu with the self-destruct. We're into a position where Machi Esports still waiting for their first round of ultimates finally coming online.
And yeah, very cheap fight for Blank. They didn't use ultimates in that one, except for, I believe, a pulse bomb, which is already back up anyway. Now they can just exert maximum pressure on Machi, and Hus going deep. It's going to force a lot of ultimates out of Machi here. The Transcendence out. It's going to be able to scrape out alive as well. Now they've drawn D-Crown a long way forward. Blank just kind of back up a little bit. Machi have used a lot of resources. Now they can re-engage. They've got the Transcendence, so they lose. Eat You Up. Oh, and Trill, unfortunately, not quite saving those members. Gunva still going to commit it, though, because Hus and Hu are still in this fight. I feel they can get the work done. They just need to convert. Losing Hus, though, they may just have to back out and take that on the chin.
That's an unfortunate loss for Blank Esports because it felt non-committal. They were half foot in, half foot out. 3 players used ultimates, 3 players
shook it all
didn't.
about.
And they had 6 to start with. I mean, they had the entire run to go through. They were definitely in an advantageous situation. They should have won that fight, but unfortunately they didn't. And now finally Machi Esports get the stabilization. That's important. EMP about to come up as well. This is now the power spike for Machi.
It is, but it is still a tentative stabilization. Blank do still have the ultimates to get another foot back in this door and get the cap over. It's only 1 fight away from going through. Machi have to get a lot out of this EMP, which means Nuns has to get a good position on it.
He's looking for that one right now as well. Catching Eat Up in this would be extremely important. Killing Gumba quite quickly as well, so this is very important. This might just be the one here if he's not too careful, but already forced to translocate.
And now he's actually got to reset up that translocator. Now he can get back into the fight, but it's a little bit late because they'd already lost Kiyomi. Just that little cooldown hurting him a touch and also getting low. They haven't quite closed out these kills, and unfortunately Machi are getting beaten about by Trill and Co. And the closeouts are there once again for Blank, and that EMP, it was the tool they had and they needed to land it well, just didn't quite get the connection that Machi were after.
But it was well read by Blank because they knew exactly what Machi wanted to do there, so Nuns was caught out, forced to translocate super early. Blank Esports, this isn't even over just yet for them. Killing Kiyomi in the last fight at roughly 95% ultimate charge, extremely important because the Transcendence could have also made the difference for Machi, but now we're on to see.
Yeah, it's the same thing again. Blank are just looking to get further forward, just take this ground. This is Hus looking for it. Again, forces a really early Transcendence from Kiyomi. He does go down for it though, so he's not going to get more out of that. And actually, Machi now have an opportunity to go. Gunva may want a Transcendence to stay in the fight as they picked Kiyomi again, but he didn't. And now they're just getting routed without these supports in the fray, and Hus only just going to be rejoining the team. Machi are able to just get a couple and get away with murder.
And you hope this is Blank Esports choosing to back out here and choosing not to commit ultimates, because otherwise it would be for folly. Hus already committed in with the Dragon Blade. Should be a follow-up from either RQT or Gumba with the support ultimate. Make sure that Hus stays alive, but the fact being, Blank Esports, they back out of that one, didn't use anything, but they do lose time.
Yeah, and time is really what's going to count. They've still got plenty to cap this one, though, because the payload has actually been moving for most of this time anyway. Now they're wanting to commit to a fight, have to answer with their own sound barrier. Blank, EMP connects onto them, but it doesn't get too much done. But Kant gets the closeout. Gunba keeping the team alive with the, Transcendence rather, but it's Machi still getting the kills up. Hus has got a lot of work to do to bring this one back around. Trill isn't in this fight to cover these DPSs, and the supports are getting taken out from underneath them. Blank had the match ultimates, but couldn't quite swing back.
That's an important victory for Machi Esports because Blank Esports, they were the ones that saved the previous fight. Hus ultimated just like we remember, but neither of the support ultimates were used. This time around, though, Blank Esports, they're saying, okay, well, we're going to save those, but this is a fight we want to go in. And Machi Esports put up the iron wall and repelled Blank once again. So Blank now under 2 minutes remaining and a lot less ultimates to work with.
What they will have is this Dragon Blade, but again, we've yet to see big results out of it from Hus. He's looking for these backliners. They need to get this dive off quick smart, and he gets hacked. That's going to delay the timing of this attack, and Machi recognize it. They go, but good self-destructive by them, the space, and it even catches Kant for good measure. Now Hus goes, finds Restia, needing more, getting getting pressured out by the Diva, but it doesn't matter. The team is there to back it up, and they close out the extra kills, and it ends up being the opening they need thanks to Huwu self-destruct. Payload underway, but they've still got to win at least one more fight.
And the most important thing is that Kiyomi used the Transcendence before Huss used the Dragon Blade. Usually, Kiyomi has saved the Transcendence to counter Huss's Dragon Blade. This time around, though, because he used it early, Huss got a lot more done. Huss now changing on Sombra for the final push.
Good EMP from Nuns, and they close Gunva, but he immediately gets traded off, so Blank's still in this, but losing RQT, maybe not so much anymore. And again, you've got to question the lack of committal of that sound barrier to keep them in the fight.
It seems like potential misfires from the Blank side. You're not too sure whether they're doing this on purpose or whether they're choosing to not commit these ultimates. If they are choosing to not commit these ultimates, a lot of questions now have to be raised because they're losing a lot of momentum, they're losing a lot of time, and they're too eager to see these pushes over to a marching defense.
They've got their own Sombra as well. And it's going to be a while to the EMP, and even there we need to see good work done from it. But this is the aggression. Ooh, Eat You Up pressured out. They've got the support ultimates. They have to use them. Kiyomi getting pressured. Eat You Up is really looking forward. There's still no EMP available for the defenders, and they've committed their ultimates. Kiyomi dies before the Transcendence. No Talk does answer one back, but it is Blank a little bit in the driver's seat here. Eat You Up even closing one out. Respawn advantage favors Machi, though, and that could be all they need. D-Crown's the last one alive, contesting this payload for as long as possible, but the progress on it is steady, and he knows he can't really afford to die, but the closeout from Eat You Up not quite there. He won't, as Kiyomi comes in with the Transcendence. Now we're into the overtime as the self-destruct comes out from Huwu to make the space. No kills, but Eat You Up is going to convert on the back line as they jostle for space. Great catch on Cat, and the hacked health pack from Huss is going to stop him from healing up. With the EMP out, they do connect, they do convert, and they do complete the cap.
In a timely manner as well, not in terms of the extra time remaining, but in terms of the timing on what was up and available for Machi Esports, because just as Kiyomi comes in with the Transcendence, same as his teammate, you have to look at the EMPs here. Nuns, not quite there. Huss manages to get the EMP just in time to secure that last fight in there. So for Blank Esports as well, gotta look at Eat You Up. He was the one that stayed alive throughout that entire thing, manages to pick up kills. Cat, though, he died.
Yep, and I did mention it as well, but Huss taking the opportunity to hack those health packs was a proponent in that. That's what Kant was really banking on. And he was backing into it as well, so I don't even think he recognized that it was hacked.
The other thing that Eat You Up does really well is continue that new fashion trend of wearing that headset right behind you and turning over that microphone. So,
yeah, this is like, I mean, I don't want to sound mean, but like, isn't that just the pinnacle of vanity? Like, I don't want to mess up my hair. I gotta put that. He didn't do that in season 1. He didn't do that in season 1. Like, I swear he didn't. Maybe someone can go check a VOD and prove me wrong, but I swear he just wore it normally. But this season, he's like, you know what? I paid good money for this haircut.
Meanwhile, Gumba's the opposite because he's got the Overwatch hat on. So
he's hiding that. It's almost like Eat You Up after like months in Taiwan was like, you know what? I can finally go back to Australia, go to my regular barber, get my favorite haircut, and I want to preserve it this time. I feel like that must be what's going on.
Let's hope rain or bad weather, or indeed maybe cyclones don't have a negative impact on that hairstyle.
Does he have like? Because he can get like. Basically just umbrellas that you wear, like it's like a little headband, and like it protects your hair from the weather. Like, does he have one of those?
I like to believe there's a lot of utility in the hair, and then in rain, it sort of just becomes an umbrella itself. It molds to the circumstances of the weather.
It's like Inspector Gadget, but it's hair, like follicular. All right, well now on the defense, Blank. They were able to fully cap out. That's going to be a real boon for them. They only need to stop up Machi at one point somewhere on this map.
Machi Esports going to take things slow to get things in there. They want to have a quick attack, though, similar to what Blank did. Find the correct moments, but then dive really hard. And already losing Kant does mean you're going to have to play this a lot more defensively than you really want. In fact, Blank might just go in the counter aggression.
Yeah, they want to, and they can, because they've got the triple DPS. And this is really interesting out of Blank as well. They've got this Reaper in here as kind of a read on having an enemy Sombra, but there is no enemy Sombra, so the Reaper's just good damage on the tank.
Well, it's actually a read on an enemy Sombra, and most importantly, a read on an enemy Doomfist, none of which are apparently, but now this is going to be the aggression from Machi Esports. Finally, always someone has to die on the Machi side, which is unfortunate for them.
And again, the trade is there. They pick Hush, they lose Restia, and now these tanks, without the supports, are getting pressured out. And at that point, it doesn't really matter that the DPSs are still in the fight. Oh, Nuns does get one for good measure, but they are pressured out. Doesn't lose his life. That's pretty phenomenal.
Had a couple of trades now from both sides, a couple of skirmishes. Most importantly, Gumba gets that EMP. So now on the sort of stage where EMP and the rest of the ultimates do become a bit of a factor. That's not your health pack. Has to go back into the fray. Might actually get out with his life, but the EMP does follow.
And the thing is, he has to get out. He can't actually commit to the fight. That means Blank were able to get Trill back in. They go 1-for-1 now. One of these DPSs needs to stay in this fight, but he's constantly getting pressured out. He's really having a hard time of this. But Blank are the ones losing the members. Nuns really getting the work done now. Looking to cut down these last few, but he is getting a little bit pressured. Forces the Transcendence out, but Blank are starting to get beaten back in earnest as Husk gets closed out upon. They've committed the ultimates as well, and unless they really value burning that extra little bit of time off the clock, I think Hugu ought to keep this self-destruct. No, gonna throw it out. They want to stay in this. Doesn't get anything for it, though. It's only time.
Well, we need Resty to potentially commit the sound barrier if things go badly. Blank Esports, though, they're losing a lot of members. Speaking of sound barrier, RQT is going to die with his one. Gumba already swapped his way onto the Zenyatta, so no quick re-attempt to try and defend this one on the Sombra. And now the question has to be raised once again, is RQT saving these on purpose or not? Because I'm starting to believe he's not.
Blank, it's interesting. If that wasn't a full commit, then they obviously really valued that extra, I think, about 20 seconds that they got off Machi's clock. If it was meant to be a commit, they kind of failed at it. They didn't use certain ultimates at certain times. They didn't really convert kills. But at any rate, now onto the streets phase, they still have plenty of opportunity to stop up Machi.
And unlike Hong Kong Attitude, who usually keep the Sombra, it's going to be Blank Esports not keeping that one. You do hope that Gumba charges up a Transcendence rather quickly, because for Machi Esports, they're on their way to push on through. Who does have a Sombra now is actually Kiyomi on the Machi side. That might help them out.
Huss into the thick of it is clearly looking for a Death Blossom, just needs to find the right opportunity, and maybe there it is.
Matrix.
They don't quite, Matrix through and through, but while that Matrix was down, the rest of the team was getting pressured out. Good space created by the self-destruct, but space for whom? Because the rest of the team was kind of getting aggressed upon. Can't just take out his counterpart though, and that could be all they need. He is still in this fight. No, pressured out. Good close by Trill. And Huss is just staying in this one, standing on top of the payload, training his guns on everyone he can spot. They are going to hold Machi very, very far forward.
Yeah, good healing from his supports as well as the lifesteal passive from Reaper does maintain his positioning in the fray. This is exactly where Reaper wants to be. And for Huss, this is exactly the kind of damage output and the counter DPS play that you expect from this player. Now, for Blank Esports, holding onto this corner very tightly. If they can continue this defense, they're going to build up a lot of time here. Make sure that Machi do not get a lot of distance, but the EMP will come into play.
And there it is in play, but Huss can still put that damage out, and Gunva was clear, so he's in with the Transcendence, means Nuns gets nothing, gets pressured out, gets killed too, as Restia gets stuck with a Pulse Bomb. On the whole, great open from Blank, totally weathering the storm.
So well read from Blank Esports at the end of the day. You look at the way Gumba played that one, he knew the EMP was going to come out. Blank Esports played very forward to bait out the EMP. It looked like a good one, but as soon as the Transcendence came back in, that's when you knew Blank Esports were going to hold on to that. Now we're in a situation where Death Blossom becomes part of the issue again, and also sound barrier defensively. So everything that Machi want to get into this, there's always something in the way.
And there's going to be the commit again now with the sound barrier out and instantly into the Death Blossom that this time does not quite get Matrix. They only get Restia for it, but the pressure is there. It's just closing out the kills now. And Machi again getting routed. They even committed some ultimates such as the Crown's Primal Rage. Got absolutely no kills.
Kiyomi dying down late as well. This is just more and more time being wasted. Huss might get a kill onto D-Crown. Fortunately, goes down. He used the Primal Rage as well. Already mentioned he didn't get a lot of mileage. And so far, Blank Esports, look at where this cart is. Even if Blank Esports gets wiped here, Machi have so long to push.
Yeah, exactly. They've got a huge distance to make. They'll be making it in overtime, if at all. Kiyomi needs to get a big EMP. But Blank, again, they've read it. They know, and he needs to not overextend.
He needs to make sure he actually engages with the invisibility. Make sure that Machi Esports have the jump onto Blank Esports so they don't expect it. It's got to happen sooner than it happens now.
Good hack. Yeah, there it goes, the big commit, but they're not quite getting the conversion. They do close out on Gunba, which takes the Transcendence off the table. But Huss is just stuck in the middle of this team, has a Death Blossom now, and they need to not get baited into this one because the team is still there to keep him alive, and he's still getting damage. Finally goes down, but the rest of Blank now is closing out these kills, and they just held on to that ultimate, threatening Machi with it. They tunnel onto Huss. Nun's late on the Dragon Blade here. They're desperately trying to open it up, but he's going to lose his life anyway, and Machi is starting to look look a little desperate.
Absolutely, because Machi Esports, they're using up all their tools to try and buy themselves a way into this game. Huss, he dies with a Death Blossom, doesn't even matter. Nuns couldn't convert anything onto the side. Machi spent so much time diving onto Huss, they forgot about the other players. Huru gets himself a double kill in the middle there, and now Blank is stacked.
That's a big commit out of Machi. They need to go, they know that they need to go aggressive, and it pays off in payload distance, but now Blank need only win one fight before this cap goes through, and they've done it. This is what they are looking for. They need to get the ultimates connecting though. Good space created, but there's going to be a good hack onto Huss. He's looking for the Death Blossom. Good self-destruct, zones Blank off, but now the recommit as they pick Restia. Machi are a little bit scattered now, and Huss is still just holding the center of this fight on lockdown. That's the Death Blossom in the middle with all the closeout, if you like it, from Blank. There's going to be the one kill that goes through and to eat you up, but that is going to be the hold all but completed as they take out No Talk and all the rest, indeed the rest here. And that is Blank picking up Hollywood as well, 2-0 up in the series.
Comfortably as well, Hollywood looked even more convincing than Ilios. Ilios, he had a couple of hiccups there, had some moments where Lighthouse was questionable from the Blank side of, from the Blank point of view. Now that you go to Hollywood, this was much more of a one-sided affair, and certainly the Blank that we remember from Season 1 appearing now.
I want to touch on something really important here, in my opinion. I feel like we're still not at peak Huss. Right? Like, we haven't seen him
like
really going on.
A measurable thing.
Exactly. Like peak oil. Like, we're not at peak Huss, right? But here's the thing. We've not seen him really go off in the right kind of way previously in Season 2. He's had some good, some bad. But even, you know, ignoring a lot of the ultimates that haven't gone off, he hasn't had much of an impact. Today, against Machi, he's had more and more impact as the game has gone on, to the point where that Reaper was absolutely instrumental in keeping the payload on utter lockdown. And off the back of that, combined with the rest of Blank's individual strength, they are 2-0 up in the series and have taken Machi to match point.
And this is about as comfortable as you want to be for Blank going into potentially your worst game mode. Assault has been looking better and better for Blank, and for Blank Esports as well. 2-0 up is definitely a comfortable position now. This is where you're looking to close out these games, because Blank has had some questionable performances in the past where, you know, you're in a 1-to-1 position against a team like Hong Kong Attitude and then they close out the series against you. Now though, 2-0 lead. This is when Machi start to get desperate and are on the back foot.
Yeah, absolutely on the back foot. And now they're relying on something of a second wind. Look, Assault is the place to turn it around, because the fact of the matter is still that it is Blank's worst map mode by far. So, Machi, that's maybe a saving grace, but it's Blank's pick, and you can expect him to go somewhere where, you know, they've got like Volskaya. They're actually fairly favored, all things considered, on Volskaya. Tend to have good performances. On the whole, it is Machi on the back foot. As much as this is expected when you've got the 5th place team versus the 7th place team, that 5th place team not too long ago being the 4th and 3rd place team, this is still unfortunate for Machi, who need these wins so that they can avoid bottom 2.
You need to see Machi pick up a map somewhere in the middle as well, but I do want to talk a little bit more about Blank on Hollywood, and so we're going to take a look at this replay here, and this is going to be Machi, or rather Blank, pushing on through, big ultimate advantage. This is after a very clean run through A so far. It's going to see Huss commit the Dragon Blade here, immediately countered up by Kyumi. That's something that happened a lot in this Hollywood series, and certainly the one time that Blank did get Huss in a Dragon Blade without Kyumi, the Transcendence, they had a lot of success. But now back onto this, still a lot of ultimates. This is going to be a Machi fight win, and you do sort of have to question here, because for Blank Esports, 3 ultimates used, 3 ultimates unused. And the big problem that you do see for Blank here is it does just feel like they're unwilling to fully commit into fights, especially when they're actually extremely favored. In that one, they were definitely favored.
Now we start to see something else. As much as it wasn't evident in that fight in particular, Huss is still often not getting many kills with these Genji ultimates, but if we're looking for the progression of his Genji play, he's not dying straight off the bat. That's honestly nothing to be discounted. He's also actually putting down a lot of pressure with them. Now look, it's great to pull out the blade and you get a ton of kills. That's your ideal situation. But he's forcing out that Transcendence a lot. He's drawing members in towards him, and that is actually space that Blank are using to great effect to close out other kills.
We'll see how Blank do now as they approach the 3rd and potentially final map in the series. 2-0 up against Machi Esports, who need this win desperately. We're going to have to find out exactly how the rest of this match pans out, and that happens right after this break. Welcome back once again to OPC Season 2. Now heading into the third map of the final series of the evening. Machi taking on Blank Esports. So far, 2-0 lead for Blank.
And this is feeling pretty good for Blank right about now. Last time these two teams met, if I'm not mistaken, the series went a little bit closer than that. Here's the thing, right? Blank are having a bit of a rough run in Season 2 of OPC on the whole. They're now actually on the cusp of being able to 3-0 Machi. They do still have to get through Assault, which is their weakest game mode, but it's their map pick. They're taking us to Volskaya Industries, and a 3-0 would bode very well for the remainder of the round robin, given that their goal right now must be to make it into playoffs, given that they lost that top 4 spot when AHQ beat Flash Wolves earlier in the week. And
it would be an improvement over their last showing from Machi as well, because you did bring that up and Machi did take a map off Blank in that original series. If I'm not mistaken, that was also on Assault. So if Machi's going to get a win somewhere, it has to be here.
Yeah, you're completely correct. And that's the thing. At the time, this wasn't the case, but of course, Machi did end up being the 7th place team, which is where they currently stand on the standings. So that was Blank dropping a match effectively to the 7th place team. And
a map, rather, I think.
A map, yeah, sorry. So that's really far from ideal, and that's why a 3-0 would bode well for them. But even just in terms of the progression of this team, it would suggest that indeed they are looking stronger. Now, even just anecdotally, I would say they are looking stronger tonight. We're seeing this team start to gel together much more with Huwu and Huss. We're starting to see what the potential of these guys is, and we're really starting to see Huss deliver on that DPS.
We do need to still see a little bit more action out of Huss's Genji, though. Still a couple of misfired blades. Some situations where you do want to just see those Dragon Blades really hit their mark. On RQT side as well, a little bit of question marks over the sound barrier usages. A lot of times when you consider him in a situation where this would be a good place to use sound barrier, he dies with it. So that needs to be sharpened up on the Blank side as well. But otherwise, Edup's been playing great. Gumba's got a really good Sombra, which we're going to see now onto Volskaya, and things are looking on the up.
And we're actually also seeing a lot more.
I didn't know the ice breaks.
Did you actually not?
No, that's a cool thing. I've never
seen that before.
I've never looked at it. I've never really paid attention to it because, you know, too busy fighting.
You'll learn something new today. So what I was actually going to say, Toy, said there was Gunba's Sombra has also looked a little bit tidier as well. He's always had a decent Sombra, but often we've also just seen him get outclassed by some of the other Sombras in this tournament. Now look, Machi themselves don't have a fantastic Sombra. They're kind of in the same boat. They've got a solid, decent Sombra, but we're also seeing cleaner play in general out of Gunba on that Sombra.
I would actually say that Sombra is one of Gumba's better picks, and also as Gumba the player, is kind of one of the better Sombras of the competition as well. Aryan made it out of the way. Jeff specifically said that he rated Gumba on the support role, and certainly Sombra's within his peripheral, so yeah.
There you have it. Now, with that Sombra out on the defense, triple DPS as well, we get Huss on the Soldier, a favorite pick of his. See how Machi deal with this.
This is good because now we're seeing Huss on a couple of different roles, because the question does have to be asked. Now that Doomfist Rocket Punch is nerfed, what does Huss want to play? So it's going to be the Soldier. Now we get to see the result of that.
And they're well set up here as well. Machi need to find a good way to respond to this.
Waiting for the EMP to come up as well. That's one way to respond, certainly.
Yeah, quick Helix Rocket to close out Nuns means Machi. They're going to try and have to hold this ground without losing any more members, and then still find a way to get Nuns back within the fold of this team.
Well, that's the hard thing, right? Because you don't necessarily want to be stuck in this area, because you need Nuns to come back with you. He's the Soldier. It's not like he's a Tracer that can just blink into position. So for the rest of Machi, they have to start walking out here. Gumba in trouble.
Oh, able to just barely translocate out, get back to the health pack while Huwu's doing the follow-up with Eat You Up. They do lose Huss in the mix there, but they're happy to just kind of forcibly make Machi retreat. That's good enough for Blank right now.
This is actually a good trade for Machi Esports, though, because Huss has to take a lot longer to actually run back into this cap. For Machi Esports, they don't even want to have to wait for their teammate to come back from Nuns. Cat goes down quite early, though. Now it's going to be the commit for the rest of Machi.
Yeah, it's a forced sound barrier out of rest. Yeah, they're going to commit to this fight, though, like you said, but it's not going too well for them. The pressure is just there from Blank, who are committing ultimates, but ultimately committing less. And Gunba has the EMP if they desperately need that for the closeout, but it doesn't even look like that's going to be the case. That's just a really nice response from Blank to deal with Machi pressing the go button.
And now the support ultimate's coming online for Blank, really important. You already mentioned the EMP, but also you got to look at RQT on the sound barrier as well. For Machi, though, nearly 2 minutes off the table, and we haven't seen too much action from them. Certainly haven't seen the 1/3 cap out just yet. Yomi now onto the Ana. We're seeing a sound barrier coming through from Restia, not to really that much effect either. So for Machi, they need options and they need to get progress now.
Yeah, it kind of gets a little bit uphill for them as the EMP connecting onto most of the team. Not quite getting converted on as they do kind of hole up safely in this room for now and get Huwu's mech. No one dead just yet on the side of Machi. Now, Blank either need to commit more or find a way to retreat and recommit later. Huss going to try and match this tactical visor, but he's not got anyone blocking for him. Meanwhile, all of Machi are blocking. Trill gets one, but he's kind of only got that. Huss is still alive in this at least, and Gunba about to get another EMP. They're still in this potentially. Trill sticking in it, and unfortunately for Machi, they don't close out on the last few despite opening so strongly and really backfooting Blank.
And they got really good trades in that because IQT and Gumba both went down. Gumba before even the EMP comes up, but you have to give it to IQ. He was the one that really pulled the weight when Blank needed it. They were on the back foot. Machi had the better trades, but got the kills that really mattered, and Blank still hold on to this A, still without losing a third, now with only 1 minute remaining.
And again, I say, EMP about to be back up. Gunba's uptime on that ultimate has been fantastic.
There it is again. Chill about to hit the Primal Rage as well. You're still looking for options out of Machi because Tactical Visor already used by Nuns. It was good, but not good enough to get them a secure. Now here comes the EMP.
And
this
there
could
it
be
goes.
big.
Yeah, with Machi not even fully set up yet, so the big commit into the room from Blank, and the conversion is instant. No Talk has to self-destruct just to create some space, but they still pick Nuns despite that. D-Crown off the edge as the secure is there. Now less than 30 seconds for Machi.
This is going to be the biggest push for Machi because one of the few times now, maybe even the first time, Machi come in with a big ultimate advantage. They've been waiting for this. They've been banking for this. At Blank Esports for the first time as well. Now look to be on the back foot. RQT, if you can get a little bit more time, the sound barrier really important. Huss as well, a little bit more time, maybe you get the tactical visor because otherwise Machi should theoretically roll on through.
Should theoretically, you're quite right, but D-Crown very early, Primal Rage and Chill instantly onto the back line. Pulse Bomb going wide out of Cant now, and Blank only need to win the one. Machi needs to get onto this point. Ooh, that's a little bit closer than they wanted, but the EMP is through from Gunba. That's a big stick from Ichu up to close out the supports, and it is all over for Machi Esports. Not going to get even a third of Cap A. Blank, start to finish, have it iron held.
Blank is saying, what Assault weaknesses? This ain't a weak game map, a game mode for us, rather. Well, Sky, though, has naturally always been one of Blank's best pickups, and it's showing now why Machi Esports right at the end there. It has to be said, in theory, they were meant to win that, and in theory, they should have, but practically and ultimately, it was Blank pulling out at the end of the day. Eat you up. Again, when it counts, he's the one that really gets the kills. The double kill with the pulse bombs, that's what secures it.
That was phenomenal. And even then, they had other resources, right? They still had the tactical visor that couldn't have done it. They had got some key members out already. It was kind of theirs for the taking, in a sense. It was just, which ultimate is it going to be?
And it was all up to Machi at the end of the day because they had it within their sights. They had a situation where they could really win. Hussing someone in the audience that he likes is probably just Doctor.
I was saying that,
They're
like,
one fan in the audience, just Doctor.
I was saying that, like, from that particular angle, like, Huss and RQT actually look a little bit similar. Like, their facial features are quite different. They both got the glasses going on. They both got the man bun. Like, you know, you could mix them up if you only saw them at a glance.
Well, you know, for the general Taiwanese populace, that's probably the case. So that's probably definitely something to be considerate of now. Definitely, though, in the middle of the game, you know exactly who Huss is. You know exactly who
at this
RQT
point,
is.
At this point, yeah, that's the thing. If you don't know who Huss is by now, then you haven't been paying attention because this is the first match, really, of OPC Season 2 where we've really started to see him come into his own. Look, this is a guy who was picked up for a good reason. He has been a phenomenal player in the local scene in Oceania, earned the spot on this team, to be sure, but hasn't quite delivered just yet, now looking a lot better.
So I do want to take a little bit of a trip down memory lane. If you remember the first time we saw Machi and Blank play, it was on Temple of Anubis and we went to the Golden Cap, which was on Legion Tower Control Center specifically, that Machi then won. It's not impossible now that Machi take this to another golden point where a draw happens, we go to a control map.
Yeah, definitely a possibility, but triple DPS now out of Blank. Bit of a specialty of theirs. One of the first teams to really crack it out in OPC. That was way back in Season 1, though. Let's see how it pays off for them. All they need to get is a third. Ooh, Restia.
And back in Season 1, it definitely wasn't Gumba playing the DPS either, so he's losing a lot of health here. RQT going down as well. This is going to stop up Blank, at least for the time being, but not if Huss and Emo have anything to say about it.
I'm sorry, is it going to stop them up? Because I don't see that happening just yet. Finally, the response kills onto the DPS, but the rest of the team is still in the fight. Huss, Trill rather, and Eat You Up can still put the damage down, and the respawns are closer for them as Huwu's still closing out kills. Trill did stay on maybe a little too long, and they only had the one healer, but that healer's still alive. The rest of the team regroups, and Machi looking much the worse for wear here. No Sombra to get the extra top up just yet, and shy of the EMP as well. Nuns needs to get it through now.
And Blank are really committing to this because Trill's even coming back as a Doomfist, and that's all she wrote for that one. Blank Esports in one push and one attempt. That's all they needed. And just when you thought Machi was about to bring it back, just when you thought, okay, a couple players going down here, Gumba as well, he's low, he's anti. It's going to be the return kills. I Eat You Up once again as soon as it counts. This is where it happens. Double kill the pulse bomb. Everything Blank needs to secure the victory.
And that was the nano visor as well at the time on Nuns. So just the timing on that was so beautiful, and that was a really smooth closeout from Blank as well. It was a little bit traded back and forth for that final fight on that attack, but I mean, ultimately, they still had enough to go on, right? And even trades kind of favor the attacker because of that respawn. And even then, like, the closeout was just easy enough. They got all the members low. They still had their healer alive. Well, Machi didn't. All the pieces were there. It was down to just getting that last little bit, getting it all fit in place, and they did do that as well. So, you know, we talk about getting the setup, we talk about getting the execution and how much that really counts. And today, Blank really made it count.
It's already a big improvement for the Blank squad because last time it was a 3-1 victory, this time a 3-0 victory, and a convincing one at that. They needed this to bounce back after losing its Hong Kong attitude. This is a much needed win, not in terms of just standings, but in a morale for the team as well, picking up that 3-0 win against Machi.
And again, you can say this is perhaps an expected win because Machi are 7th place, and they're 7th place because they've lost a lot of games to a lot of teams, but on the whole, Blank still happy to get this one with relative ease. Now let's see how that went over the line. This is on their own defense.
So early EMP does come out, and you can see the positioning from the rest of the Blank players getting very aggressive to start things off with RQT. He responded with a sound barrier as well, but it is going to be Nuns that immediately demix, who will look for the counterplay in terms of both the tactical visors. We already mentioned this, but Huss didn't really have the angles here. No talk protects Nuns, gives Nuns a lot of space to work with. Huss doesn't really get enough damage in, but meanwhile on the camp itself, it is Trill getting a rest here. D-Crown trades into RQT as well, and this is why where IU really picks up the pacing. It's not even the double kill on both the supports. That's later on, but even without the pulse bomb, he can get the damage in.
And the thing that I'm really impressed by actually just in this series as a whole was how much work Trill was doing. We've seen him being the first casualty in so many fights, and they just seem to have hit this much better stride of how they are executing these dives. They're doing it a lot safer. They're a lot more coordinated. What was often happening is Trill was kind of leading the charge, and by the time the rest of the team was there, he was already dead. When you all go in at the same time, that's not really so much of a factor. And the decision making tends to be, do I kill the Winston or do I kill the DPS that's going to kill me? So you go after the DPS. And when the DPS then goes 1-for-1, you still got Trill in the fight who's doing the work. The proactivity from Blank and the overall coordination is just that microsecond cleaner, and it is making all the difference.
They are one of the better teams that really takes advantage of EMP as well. You see some teams play EMP quite sloppy. Blank isn't one of them. Gumba has been one of the best Sombras so far in the competition. He's able to find the correct positioning. He makes sure he gets the call out for the team as well, and they absolutely follow up in the way that they should. Not always getting the right amount of kills. Some teams still defend against EMP quite well. But when Blank really want to make it count, they get it done. Let's take a look at the next replay now. This is where Eat Up should be getting his double kill on the pulse bomb to really secure the game.
And this is a good open by Machi as well. They start getting some of the things they need. They get a decent opener. A couple of ultimates go wide. They're staying alive through this. They got the nano visor out, and Huss is really hard pressured here. But this double kill on the pulse bomb completely flips it about. And this was with the EMP already committed and then Gunba dead, right? It was actually a really swingy moment because Machi had done everything they needed to get it over the line. Had it not been for that pulse bomb, there was still resources that Blank could have used to try and win it, and maybe they would have just got the kills anyway, but it shut the door on a situation that was otherwise very winnable for Machi.
And Blank Esports, they come out from behind because you're absolutely right. Shut the door on a winnable situation for Machi, and it should have been a win for Machi. They had all the resources. They had the tactical visor, the sound barrier, the nanos in a situation where Blank didn't. And now it's going to be time for player of the game. Gumba's going to pick that one up on the Zenyatta. Might as well have been on the Sombra as well, but why not?
Yeah, I kind of want to go back to one other thing though, and that was Huss's Reaper. Because, I mean, if we talk about Huss having a bit of a rocky road through this so far, we're seeing some better play out of him in general. We're seeing him, like I said, really come into his own, seeing what this player is capable of. But specifically on the Reaper on Hollywood was like the focal point of the defense, literally and figuratively, right? Because he was often in the center of the fight on the card itself, and was also a lot of what the defense was working around, you know, allowing him to go off, using the threat of the damage to draw in no talk on the Diva, all sorts of other things, and it was just really nice. In being the kind of central figure of that defense, completely delivered, whereas I feel the Huss of a week or two ago would have maybe crumbled and the whole defense would have fallen apart.
And certainly Reaper so far has been a better pick for Huss, so even the Soldier, you might debate that as well. Genji is where the questions are raised, because still waiting to see the good Dragon Blades come out. Hasn't really had that impact yet. Didn't have it against Hawk Attitude, didn't really have it against Machi. That's going to be the real test for Blank Esports moving forward, is how are we going to deal with the Tracer Genji scenario, because you can't play Tracer Reaper on every single map, and you do have to commend the supports on the Blank side as well for making sure that Huss on the Reaper really got that sustain, really had the positioning to get the job done. Hollywood was great. It's time now to recap what we had for tonight. We started things off with Ardent versus Hong Kong Attitude in a 3-0 victory. They're moving on to Limited Supreme and AHQ Esports, where AHQ took that one out in 3-0 sweep. Blank now 3-0 again against Machi Esports, so it's been a night of 3 zeros.
Yeah, and every single one of them, arguably an expected result. The favorite team came in, they won. The difference is they won in very convincing fashion. Now let's take a look at how that is reflected in the standings, because Ardient's still undefeated at the very top of that. Again, expected result, but a good result nonetheless. It's in the rest of the table that it starts to get a little bit more interesting, because of course with the win that they picked up, AHQ are tied with Blank, given that they picked up a win of their own. And there's this real jostling still going on in the middle. Hong Kong Attitude as well, not exactly secure anymore thanks to that loss against Ardient. Both Blank and AHQ really within striking distance. And then moving further down into the standings with Mega Thunder sat in 6th and relatively stable there. Machi still trying to fight their way out of that bottom 2, and Liverland at the very bottom. Probably not going to be able to make it out of that bottom 2 anymore. They will have some really hard-fought wins ahead of them if they do, but they are still looking better week to week.
And now there does appear to be a gap between 5th and 6th place, and we did speak about the fact that Mega Thunder would have been rooting for Machi Esports to win that one against Blank. That would have made it a lot more possible for both Machi and Mega to overtake Blank in the standings, but now Blank just get that reach a little bit further apart. In fact, now within striking distance to Hong Kong Attitude, like you mentioned, also tied with AHQ, kind of mentioned there as well. So very important in terms of where Blank standings are, and both of these teams fighting to get this positioning into the top 4. And top 4 looking very competitive, because anybody in that top 5 can still swap positions with each other.
Even Flash Wolves are within striking distance. It may be a slight thing, but the seeding will matter coming into playoffs. And of course for Mega Thunder as well, it is kind of a bittersweet one for them, because like you said, they would have liked Blank to lose in terms of breaking into playoffs themselves, but Machi actually winning would have had them tied for that second to last. Now let's get some words from Blank, the post-match interview with Huss.
Please say hi to our audience. Hello， 第一个问题呢，其实就是想问说，刚在比赛当中有看比赛的观众朋友们一定会很想知道，他到底嗑了什么药，怎么会这么兴奋？都给我来一份。
Okay, why are you so excited today? And RQT and you were yelling all the match.
We usually do that in practice, and we just like bring a high level.
他说他们其实平常在练习的时候也是这样子的，然后他们觉得这样子的有助于提升大家的士气。
哦，那我们其实知道说赫子其实是新加入的成员嘛，那这个赛季到目前为止，觉得说大家团队默契磨合的如何呢？
And as a new player in Blank Esports, and what do you think about your team communication?
Well, we're still working on it. We started off with like really random communication, and even today we were yelling random names like really loudly. But it's come a long way, and we still got work to do.
他加入这段时间，然后其实大家的默契也有表现得越来越好，对。然后他们有时候练习的时候也喜欢就是用吼叫的方式来提升一下士气。
哦，原来是这个样子啊。
那我想问一下何氏选手，因为近期 Blank 的战绩啊，就是开赛的时候拿到比较好 拿到比较多的胜利，但是近期的战绩是不如预期，然后接连吞下了一些败仗。那何时选手自己在本身的这一个对于这件事情的想法跟看法是什么？
You played very well in the beginning, but you lost to HK and Flash War last week. And what do you think about this?
Our performances are really inconsistent. We have our hot days and our cold days, and I mean, depending on the day, we either play really well or poorly.
他们其实也有觉得这个问题，当他们面对比较强的队伍的时候，会产生这个状况。那面对可能实力比较有一些差距的队伍的时候，会表现得比较好。那他们其实也是在尽力，就是应付每一个状况这样子。
哦，针对这些问题来进行一些这个问题上面的改善。那我第二个问题是，今天在赛事当中，这个何时选手拿出了这个士兵76、死神，然后也有拿出闪光这样的一个套路，对，蛮多角色的一个发挥。但是他的原式的发挥，却是我们在赛事上面觉得比较弱的一环，拔刀都没有取到一个比较好的人头。那对于他自己在这个上面的一个看法，他自己本身是有什么样的一个想法？
You play a lot of heroes today. You play Genji, Tracer, and Soldier 76. But who think you play Genji is not as good as other heroes? And what do you think about this?
It's definitely true. Coming into Blank, I used to play a lot of Tracer. So I'm kind of still transitioning. Like my playstyle is a lot like Tracer's. But yeah, eventually we'll get there with Genji again.
他其实之前在其他队的时候，他是有玩闪光的，但是他现在，所以他现在练习原式其实还需要一些的时间，但是他会继续做好这个角色跟工作。
因为可能是因为 Blank 正宗的这个闪光角色发挥的也是非常的亮眼，所以就是角色已经被绑定了，不得不玩原式这样的角色。那最后一个问题就是。 因为今天拿出将这么多的一个套路，将这么多的一个角色，那是不是会未来也会朝这个方向来进行一个前进？
是说，
对他本人。
You play a lot of hero today, so do you stick to that strategy, or you will just focus on one hero?
I personally prefer to play multiple heroes, depending on the enemy composition on the map. However, we've been practicing the Genji Tracer comp a fair amount, so I mean. Depending on what we want to run in the future, I am able to flex on other roles.
他还是希望可以多尝试一些角色，然后主要是针对他们在练的一些阵型，然后来发挥使用。他觉得这样子会比较灵活一点。
哦，以整体的这个角色池的变化，增加整体阵容的一个发挥程度。好，谢谢何时选手。
谢谢，也恭喜 Blank Sport 也拿到了这场比赛的。
Congratulations to Blank Esports there. That was us with the post-match interview. A couple of really interesting questions there, and certainly one that we had been asking between ourselves. What's up with the Genji? And yeah, like he kind of answered it right there. Still working on that, and he has spent a good amount of time now playing only Tracer, coming from his previous team. He was a Tracer player, so not completely out of the normal that has been struggling on the Genji, but. As previously mentioned, just need to shape up on that. If we want to see better results from Blank, they can't have a weak Genji on the team if they want to be running Tracer Genji.
Exactly. The good thing about it, though, is they've still got a lot of flexibility out of him, and that's something this team has been known for in the past is their flexibility. They can still get the Soldier from him. They can actually pop him onto Tracer if need be. They've got that Reaper. They can use the Doomfist. There is this really broad spectrum of DPS that can come out of this team, and Genji or no, there is still just a lot of inherent strength in Hus. We started to see a lot more of it tonight.
Right, well, week 4 is now all wrapped up for OPC Season 2. When we return next week on Friday, it will be the start of week 5. Going to be halfway through the second round robin, starting things off with Limit Supreme against Hawthorne Attitude, and then AHQ versus Machi Esports. Mega then take on Audience. We've got a lot of action-packed games all ready to go. Starting week 5, I've been Kevin AVRL Walker. Join with me this weekend and this evening, Matt Pixie Carroll. Have a good night. We'll see you next week.